All right, guys, it is November 28th, 2020. Today marks 80 days that I have to have the car ready for Daryl Starwood's Rod and Custom Car Show in February 2021 on the 17th, which is a Wednesday. So the countdown is on to have this in Tulsa ready to show. Now, to me, this is the downward slide for me. This is the final detail and the assembly stuff that it always goes pretty fast for me. I still do have some tedious work to do, like the rear axle needs to be finished and buffed or painted so I can bolt it back in the chassis. At that point, then I could bolt the body down. So I've been trying to prep the body out with the tidbits that the car needs for detail stuff to have it ready. And now it's down to some finished paint work, detail stuff. What I did was yesterday, I actually drove all over town looking for something and I couldn't find it. And then the last place I went, which was Tractor Supply, had what I needed, kinda. This is Rust-Oleum. This is farm implement enamel. You can brush it on or spray it on. But anyway, this is low gloss black. I could not find flat black, so that's all I could get. It's still a little shinier than I'd like, but it will work. It's gonna have to work. But that was like 17 bucks at Tractor Supply. I also bought a quart of POR 15. This is gloss black. I think they have a semi-gloss and they have a gloss. This is gloss black. I like this stuff. I know a lot of guys don't. I had one guy tell me a few years ago he doesn't like this stuff because he put it on the floors of his car and then he went in like a month later and sanded down an area that had this on it and the rust was still there. And this is not a converter. This is a coat. Basically, it's an encapsulator. You just brush it on. It doesn't allow the rust to go any further. Anyway, I've never had an issue with it ever, bubbling or anything on anything I've done. But I've done this car several years ago already with it, but I've got overspray slung in here from painting the car again, and I'm too lazy to mask off the whole floor. But anyway, so I'm going to go in here and prep the floors out today, and I'm going to brush this stuff on. Now, the cool part that I like the most about this is the finish you get with a brush. I hate brush lines. I do not like brush lines. But when you brush this stuff on, it flows out like glass. So if your surface is nice and smooth, this will look like you sprayed it out of a gun. And I have sprayed this out of a gun before, but I will not be spraying any aerosols or any kind of paint on this body show that I've already buffed, because I don't care how well you mask something, you're going to get overspray, dust get somewhere. I'm not taking the chance. That's why I'm doing brush-ons. But anyway, it's just what I got to do. So today I'm going to prep all the floors out, all back here behind the dash underneath and everything to where it looks like $1,000,000 after I get done with it. I found out from a buddy of mine, he has judged at this show before and the class that I'm going to enter. He said that they look in places that you wouldn't normally think of. So he told me as I was building the car to think, he actually said think outside the box when you're doing it, because they look at places. One place in particular, if you leave your door open, that they will look is underneath your dash. If you don't have upholstered panels, they will shine a pin light under there and look under there. They're going to look at how, if there's raw, metal or overspray or rusty metal, like the backside of this dash is probably surface rusted from 1955. But they also look at how your wiring's done. They don't like spaghetti wiring. And I was like, wow, man, that seems excessive. And then he said, well, what it comes down to is they write it all down on a clipboard and they have notes. So if they, shine a light under there and they look at stuff, they'll write everything down in notes. You can get counted off for things, but if it comes down to a tie between you and another guy, the underneath of your dash may be what makes you win. So putting it in that kind of perspective, I got to go further with it. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. So I am going to take a lot of time behind that dash and underneath it, and I'm going to sand it by hand and then use some red Scotch-Brite in other areas, and I'm going to make sure it's slick, and then I'm going to put that POR 15 on, and hopefully when it dries, there's no brush lines and it looks like the outside paint job. It looks that slick. So anyway, the low gloss black I used, I'm using it in areas that I don't want to be shining back through in a flashlight. And that would be your channels and your kick panels down there where I've got the screen kind of stuck on there. I did all that inside there and all up in with that low gloss black. I sanded all that down, wiped it out, and then brushed it on. you know, because I'm afraid they're going to stick a pin light down through one of them slots and look in there. So I didn't want shiny paint hitting them in the face. So I did low gloss black. Also had to do down inside my speaker pods down in here because these go back in the dash a few inches. So I had to get in behind there and do it with the brush all down in it. It was a mess. I actually ended up using a cotton ball applicator, and I had to bend it in a 90 to reach it up in there and get all the way around. It was a mess, but I got it done. And I checked my work with a light to make sure I got full coverage. Anyway, I never covered this before, but your kick panels in the floor for your fresh air coming into the car are usually little screens. There's a tall one over here, and there's a little short one that goes over here. I've already got these painted and ready. I used a old GM color. This is out of the gun. It's called Galaxy Gray, and it has a couple of coats of clear on it. That is my accent color on stuff. That's what my heater box is painted with. Lots of little things. My gas pedal rod, brake pedal arm, everything is that Galaxy Gray, just to kind of break it up instead of having lots of blacks. I had welded square nuts to the tabs, 1032 square nuts, and that way they go on with 12-point ARPs, which I put a few in there to hold the screen up there for you to see. But those are usually held in with Phillips screws. I think they're like a number 10 if I remember right, but I have changed mine to 1032 ARPs. Just another little detail. Anyway, the other thing I did low gloss black was the defrost channel in the dash. A little bit of this is visible when you're outside the car, like right about where we're at. If you look down in there, you can see that channel. That is a very hard thing to paint when you're painting your firewall and cowl and everything. I had places that had bad dry spray, and I even had an area that was not covered very well. So I went in there, scuffed it with a red Scotch-Brite, wiped it out, and I brushed it on real heavy. So that is a low gloss black, so it's not quite in your face. I also did my channel down in here for my fresh air in low gloss black. I taped all this off up here and went in there and Scotch-Brited everything and painted it. I had blown paint in there when I painted the cowl, so it was a nice smooth finish to begin with. But I mean, you can still see the spot weld indents and stuff, but it is low gloss black. Now this stuff is still sticky today. It's not bad, but it's still a little bit, like it would leave a fingerprint if you tried. Rust-Oleum products for me, they're always hard drying, slow drying, but they last, you know. I usually don't use Rust-Oleum, but in this case I had to. But anyway, so today, hopefully I'll get all this POR 15 gloss black and it will look fantastic. I need that slick finish in the floor so that POR 15 will stick. And anyway, at that point, I think I'll be pretty much ready with the body shell. But anyway, that guy's going to come over that's judged that show before in about a month is what I told him. It may be a little longer, but he's going to come over and I'm going to put the car on ramps and have him critique it. I'm not saying I'm going to have it completely 100% assembled, but I know I'll have the body bolted down to the chassis and I'll probably have the wiring in it, most of it, and a lot of stuff on it. I don't know if I'll have the front clip on it and stuff, but hopefully I'll have the doors on and the glass in and that type of stuff. But I'm going to have him come over and just critique the hell out of it. And, you know, I'll have time to address some things that he might see that I need to address. I might cover this. This might help somebody in the same shape. If you've been following along, I did Raptor liner, spray-in bed liner in the trunk floor in here. I did that basically because this is a big area to prep to paint, to have shiny paint. Now I'm going to have fully upholstered panels in here. It's going to be completely walled in and upholstered, so you won't see any of it. So to me, it didn't need paint in there. I didn't need to spend the money on my paint down in there. I was basically saving paint. So anyway, I did a bed liner. It works great for help with sound deadening as well if you put it on heavy enough, which I really didn't. But, you know, I'd imagine if you put 3 or 4 coats of that in there, it would definitely help. But I did it basically just to save a little money on the actual paint. But I think it looks kind of cool. And it's going to hold up well to things that I might, you know, slide in and out like the battery or something. So anyway, I had buffing compound just all slung in this stuff. And it's a rough texture, so it was hard to get that stuff out. I started out with Dawn dish soap and water in a spray bottle. And I used my fingernail brush in there. And it just really wasn't working very well. And I ended up going in the house and I used some Tide liquid laundry detergent and steaming hot water, and I sprayed it on there and I let it set a couple minutes and it really loosened that stuff up. So I am surprised because a lot of that compound is from about a year ago when I buffed the car the first time. So, you know, that stuff, buffing compound, if it's left a long time, it dries like concrete, man. It is hard to get off. So just a little tip there for somebody in case they're in the same shape, you know, you got a mess underneath your car. Like I Raptor lined the hole underneath the body as well. So if, you know, you got road debris or something under there, laundry soap, man, that stuff, it loosened it up very easily. I was pretty surprised. So I guess I'm going to get started here. What am I at on minutes? 10 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and cut it short here. And I'm going to get started. I'm going to try to get this dang thing, get all the inside floors done, and then I won't be able to do a video of it today. I'll probably do a video tomorrow or maybe the day after tomorrow, because I want to be able to climb up in there and take the GoPro with me and get it up under there and show you the finish that I'm going to have underneath the dash, which is kind of excessive to most people, but in this case, the judging that I'm going for, I've got to have it ready. So anyway, guys, I'm going to get to work.